Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US President-elect Donald Trump threatens 100% tariff on BRICS nations if they undercut US dollar. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad vows to defeat the terrorists after rebels sweep into Aleppo. Russia conducts strikes in support of President Assad. All ISKCON temples and communities around the world organize special prayers for all religious minorities in Bangladesh. And rains lash Tamil Nadu, Puducherry as cyclonic storm Fangel makes landfall. Weather Office warns of continuous rainfall for the next 2 to 3 days. In World Chess Championship, India's Gukesh will square off against Chinese counterpart Ding Liren. Series tied at 2.5 each after Game 5. US President-elect Donald Trump warned BRICS countries against replacing the US dollar, threatening them with 100% tariffs. Trump also sought a commitment from these countries to not creating a new BRICS currency nor support any other currency. Trump made these remarks in his social media platform, Truth Social. Meanwhile, Donald Trump on Saturday added new names to his team, nominating New York real estate developer Charles Kushner as US ambassador to France. Kushner, who is the father of Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, was also a member in the first term of Trump administration. In 2004, Kushner was sentenced for 2 years after pleading guilty of 18 counts, including tax evasion and making illegal campaign donations. However, he was pardoned by Trump during his first term as president in 2020. Donald Trump nominated Kash Patel as director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Announcing his nomination, Trump in social media post said Kash is a brilliant lawyer, investigator and America's first fighter. Further, Trump highlighted his role in exposing corruption, defending justice and protecting the American people. Moving on, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad said on Saturday that his country could defeat all terrorists and their backers after rebels seized dozens of towns and overran most of Syria's second city of Aleppo. This is being viewed as the biggest challenge to President Bashar al-Assad in years. The United States is monitoring the situation and has blamed Assad's reliance on Russia and Iran for loss of Aleppo control. More in this report.
The situation in Syria appears to be in a very volatile state. Rebel forces in Syria have taken control of most of the country's second largest city, Aleppo. This is according to the UK-based monitoring group, Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, SOHR. The SOHR reports that over 300 people, including more than 20 civilians, have been killed since the offensive started on Wednesday. Meanwhile, the Syrian military said that dozens of its troops had been killed during an insurgent attack in northwestern Syria and that rebels had managed to enter large parts of Aleppo city, forcing the army to redeploy. The Syrian military statement was the first public acknowledgement by the army that insurgents led by the Islamist Hayat Tahrir al-Sham had entered the government-held city of Aleppo in a surprise attack that began earlier this week. This was the first such attack by rebels in 8 years. On Friday, Russia had urged the Syrian government to restore constitutional order in the Aleppo region as soon as possible. However, seeing the situation worsen, Russia launched airstrikes in parts of Aleppo overnight on Saturday. So let's try to understand this conflict. The Kurdish-dominated Syrian Defense Forces controls most of northeastern Syria. It regularly clashes with Arab tribes that accuse the group of discrimination. Turkey and its proxies also control areas along the northern border and have ramped up attacks on Kurdish forces. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad now controls about 70% of Syria's territory. Turkish troops have been involved in ground operations against the Islamic State since 2016 and have launched attacks against armed Kurdish groups in Syria. When the civil war began in 2011, there were four main factions of fighting groups throughout the country. They are Kurdish forces, ISIS, other oppositions such as Jaish al-Fatah and the Assad regime. The ongoing violence against civilians has been condemned by the Arab League, the European Union, the United States and other countries. Nearly 5.5 million Syrian refugees live in the 5 countries neighboring Syria: Turkey, Lebanon, Jordan, Iraq and Egypt. Germany is the largest non-neighboring host country with more than 850,000 Syrian refugees. Over the years, the conflict has evolved into a complex war involving jihadists and foreign powers. While the Syrian army has regained control of most of the territory it lost earlier in the war, the area where jihadists and their allies are based has been under a truce since 2020. Bureau Report, DD India.
For Syria on Saturday, Iran's Abbas Araghchi told Russia's Sergei Lavrov in a phone call that the attacks were part of an Israeli-US plan to destabilize the region. Iran's allies in the region have suffered a series of blows at the hands of Israel as the Gaza conflict has expanded through the West Asia. The ministers agreed on the need to intensify joint efforts aimed at stabilizing the situation in Syria. Earlier on Saturday, Russia's Lavrov spoke on the matter with his Turkish counterpart, Hakan Fidan. While Turkish security officials had said on Thursday that Ankara had prevented operations which opposition groups wanted to organize in order to avoid further tensions in the region. Negotiators on a treaty to curb plastic pollution face tough debate on the last day of scheduled talks in South Korea. The fifth and final US Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee meeting to yield a legally binding global treaty is set to wrap up in Busan on Sunday, but a final plenary session has not been set. Countries remained far apart on Sunday morning on the basic scope of the treaty. An option proposed by Panama, backed by over 100 countries, would create a path for a global plastic production reduction target, while another proposal does not include production caps.
Are not convenience. Plastics are poison. Every piece that we allow to produce without limits is a direct assault on our health, on our nature, and our children. For those blocking progress, you are allowing this crisis to fester, and it will kill us. This is just not a treaty about plastics. This is humanity's lie on the sand. If we don't get an ambitious treaty out of Busan, it will be a global betrayal.
We expect from an ambitious treaty, then we'll come back to the multilateral process and go back to the same process pushing for an ambitious treaty. Like we have said, and like all of us in this table have said, nobody is going to leave Busan with a weak treaty. Nobody is going to accept a weak treaty.
A smaller number of petrochemical producing nations such as Saudi Arabia have strongly opposed efforts to target plastic production and have tried to use procedural tactics to delay negotiations. China, the United States, India, South Korea and Saudi Arabia were the top 5 primary polymer producing nations in 2023. Plastic production is on track to triple by 2050 and microplastics have been found in air, fresh produce and even human breast milk. The chair of the meeting, Louis Wyas, is set to release a revised document on Sunday that could form the basis of a treaty. A treaty could be the most significant deal relating to environmental protection as well as climate warming emissions since the 2015 Paris Agreement. Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te began a 2-day US stopover in Hawaii on Saturday as part of a Pacific tour. Lai will be in Hawaii first for 2 days before going to Marshall Islands, Tuvalu and Palau, 3 of the 12 countries which retain former diplomatic ties with Taipei. This is Lai's first foreign trip since taking office in May. Earlier, talking to media, the Taiwanese president declared his democratically governed island a key force for promising global peace and stability.
This trip is the beginning of a new era of value-based diplomacy. Democracy, prosperity and peace are the expectations of the people of Taiwan, and they are also the values that I, as President, must actively promote. I will continue to expand cooperation and deepen our partnership with friends and neighbors based on the values of democracy, peace and prosperity, so that the world can see that Taiwan is not only a model of democracy, but also a key force in promoting global peace, stability and prosperity.
Violent clashes erupted on Saturday outside Georgia's parliament between police and demonstrators, protesting the government's decision to delay European Union membership talks amid a post-election crisis. Thousands of people gathered in Georgia's capital Tbilisi on Saturday for a third night of protests that saw dozens arrested. More than 100 people have been arrested in the last 2 days. The unrest in the region begins after Prime Minister's announcement on Thursday that Georgia would not seek accession talks with the EU until 2028 ignited a furious reaction from the opposition. Chaotic scenes unfolded for hours as police chased defiant protesters through the streets of central Tbilisi, beating them and making arrests. Georgian President Salome Zurabishvili said she will not step down until last month's contested parliamentary elections are rerun, claiming it is her constitutional duty to bring the country down the European integration path. The comments come as thousands of people gathered in Georgia's capital Tbilisi for a third night of protests against the government's decision to postpone European Union membership talks until 2028.
It's my duty. I've been elected for that, to serve this country. I'm elected also to preserve the Constitution, which clearly in its Article 78 says that we have to go down the European Euro integration path, and that's what has to be preserved. That is why the people are going out on the streets.
Whereas Georgian Prime Minister stated that the government will not allow a revolution following protests against his decision to freeze Georgia's EU accession process, he accused opponents of the halt to EU accession of plotting a revolution along the lines of Ukraine's 2014 Maidan protest, referring to the chaos that the Maidan protests brought to Ukraine.
In the last 4 years alone, we have seen 2 attempts from overseas to stage and finance a revolution, but both failed. Today, the opposition's strength is even further reduced. As a result, the third attempt at a revolution will fail too. In Georgia, of course, there will be no Maidan. You know what Maidan has brought to Ukraine? Some people want a repeat of that scenario in Georgia, but there will be no Maidan in Georgia. Today's Georgia is in no sense that Ukraine of 2013, and that's why the Maidan scenario will not be realized.
Followers of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness ISKCON worldwide organized special prayers on Sunday for the safety and security of all religious minorities in Bangladesh. The ISKCON made the appeal in response to widespread protests in Bangladesh following the arrest of monk Chinmoy Krishnadas in a sedition case. This comes as a spate of attacks on the Hindu community in the neighboring nation in recent months, which also included vandalization of temples of idol of deities. Last night, a prominent Hindu journalist named Munni Saha was arrested by police from Karwan Bazar in Dhaka city of Bangladesh. She was later released on payment of bond under Section 497 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. Munni Saha will now have to seek bail from a court and adhere to police summons. Business community in Bangladesh on Saturday said the interim government has failed to tackle the country's law and order situation. Leaders expressed their concerns at a business conference organized by the Dhaka Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Dhaka. They said it will be difficult to maintain the economy if the situation does not improve soon. Managing Director of BRAC Bank said though the government is trying to rebuild the institutions which were destroyed over the years, but the government has failed to handle the law and order situation. While Incepta Pharmaceuticals Chairman Abdul Muqtadi Rahman said that the law and order situation has declined sharply and government must fix a timeline to fix the situation. Let's take a look at some other stories making news across the world. The first big snowstorm of the season hits Pennsylvania, threatening to bury towns along Lakes Erie and Ontario during a hectic holiday travel and shopping weekend. An Arctic outbreak of cold air will expand south and east and bring dangerously cold wind chills into the northern plains and upper Midwest, while heavy lake effect snow could make travel very difficult to impossible into next week. The National Weather Service issued a lake effect snow warning for Erie until Tuesday. New York and several states in the U.S. experienced heavy snowstorms under the lake effect. According to the National Weather Service, lake effect snow occurs when cold air moves across the open waters of the Great Lakes. Authorities have reported winter alerts for parts of Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania and New York State for this weekend. Palandöken Ski Center in Erzurum, Turkey, kicked off its winter season ahead of schedule following significant snowfall, while the municipality offering free services to mark the opening. Situated just 20 kilometers from the airport and 4 kilometers from the eastern province, is known for its exceptional technical infrastructure, 5-star accommodations and international standard slopes. The Christmas season officially begins in Mexico with giant balloons flying over Mexico City's main thoroughfare for an annual parade. A flurry of colorful balloons depicting Disney and animated characters marched along Reforma Avenue to the delight of residents and visitors lining the street. The Bolo Fest spectacle showcased local cultural talent and artistry. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. India's Prime Minister Modi discusses various subjects on policing and security with Director Generals and Inspector Generals of Police in Bhubaneswar. World AIDS Day being observed with the theme Take the Right Path, My Health, My Right. And Brussels kicked off the Christmas season with a spectacular light show.
We are living in times where things are changing at an unforeseen pace. And at the forefront of many of these positive changes are strong individuals who are looking towards the future.
Through the stories I tell, I try and sort of reignite that intuitive sense of how close we are to nature and how much there is to learn from it.
Organic farming, it also helps you not only reduce the carbon footprint, but also help adapt because you are promoting natural farming.
Very lightweight, but it makes you feel that you don't have to eat too much. In this NFT channel, we use net cups with cocoa peats on it. This helps to penetrate the roots. There will be nutritious water flowing through the channel that supplies essential nutrients for the plant.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Southern India's Puducherry is facing a critical flood-like situation due to heavy rainfall after cyclonic storm Fangel made landfall late Saturday night. Most areas of the city have been inundated with water, with significant water levels reaching knee-deep heights in central areas, including White Town and Nehru Street. The electrical supply has been completely disrupted and mobile communication are severely impacted. The urban infrastructure is under immense strain, with transportation and daily activities coming to a standstill. However, the government has initiated intensive rescue operations and is actively relocating citizens to safer locations. The Indian Army carried out a rescue operation early on Sunday, successfully evacuating more than 100 stranded civilians from flood-affected areas of Puducherry. The cyclone also brought heavy rains and gusty winds to various parts of Tamil Nadu, causing severe waterlogging and disrupting transportation across Chennai and nearby areas. Meanwhile, Chennai Airport resumed operations early on Sunday, which had been temporarily suspended due to the impact of cyclone. The India Meteorological Department in its latest update said that cyclonic storm is likely to remain in Tamil Nadu and weaken into a deep depression. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday discussed various security-related issues with top police officials and chiefs of different security agencies. Attending the All India Director Generals and Inspector Generals of Police Conference being held in Bhubaneswar, the Prime Minister also discussed various operational and infrastructural-related issues faced by police. The DGPs and IGPs of different states and union territories presented a roadmap of their respective states and UTs for tackling challenges related to crime control, law and order management. Home Minister Amit Shah, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and Union Home Secretary Gobind Mohan were also in attendance. The India International Science Festival 2024 organized by the Government of India is being held from November 30th to December 3rd at IIT Guwahati campus. The purpose of IISF is to celebrate the achievements of science through its creative programs and activities.
10th edition of India International Science Festival 2024 was inaugurated at the Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, in the northeast Indian state of Assam on Saturday. The 4-day event from November 30th to December 3rd is being organized by the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, or CSIR, India's premier national R&D body under the Ministry of Science and Technology and the Ministry of Earth Sciences of the Indian government to foster innovation and global competitiveness in the fields of science, technology and manufacturing.
There have been at least 6 landmark decisions, path-breaking decisions, which the world has hailed. A National Research Foundation's Anusandhan, which was formed just before the election, has been granted rupees 1 lakh crore, and we'll have more than 70% of resource from the non-government sources. Is going to be a game changer.
The event also aligns with the Government of India's Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat initiatives. The 10th edition of India International Science Festival is a pivotal event in India's scientific and technological landscape.
The IISF is a celebration of our collective commitment to innovation, excellence, and harnessing of science and technologies as powerful engine of growth and prosperity for the nation.
With the theme Transforming India into an S&T-driven global manufacturing hub, IISF 2024 marks a significant milestone as the first edition hosted in the Northeast, emphasizing the Government of India's commitment to expanding the reach of science and innovation to underrepresented regions. This science festival offers interactive exhibits showcasing cutting-edge science and technology, panel discussions with leading scientists and thought leaders, and science competitions to inspire young minds.
It is a science Kumbh Mela, which we are celebrating over today and over the next few days. This festival has provided a unique opportunity to delve into complex scientific concepts, breaking them down into understandable and emerging discussions, engaging discussions.
There are diverse lineup of themed programs which include Chandrayaan, the Museum of Moon, Science, Technology, Defense, Space Exhibition, Make in India, Make for the World, Global Manufacturing Summit, S&T Hackathons, Young Scientists Conclave, Empowering the Youth, and Mission Startup, Innovation, Technology and Entrepreneurship, among others.
The India International Science Festival 2024 focuses on international collaboration and promises a transformative celebration of science and technology that's going to shape India's journey towards a more innovation-driven and a sustainable future. With camera person Kumar Datta, Amit Mukherjee in Guwahati, Assam for DD India.
India is celebrating its Border Security Force Raising Day today. The force was officially formed on December 1st, 1965 in the aftermath of that year's Indo-Pakistani War. The need for a specialized force to guard India's borders became evident due to consistent threat from across the borders, and the BSF was created to fulfill this significant role. The BSF is now world's largest border guarding force, securing the 6,386 kilometers long international borders with Pakistan and Bangladesh. On to sports news now. Defending world chess champion Ding Liren of China and Indian challenger Gukesh will square off in the Game 6 World Chess Championship 2024 on Sunday. The duo played out a draw in the Game 5 on Saturday. The fifth game of the best of 14 match lasted 40 moves before the players agreed a draw. Ding, playing with the black pieces, admitted afterwards that he had missed a chance after mistake by Gukesh, allowing the challenger to escape and force the draw. Ding and Gukesh have each won a game with the three others drawn. World AIDS Day is observed on December 1st each year. This year's theme, Take the Rights Path, My Health, My Right, highlights the importance of healthcare as a basic right. But how does HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, actually enter the body, and what happens when it does? What challenges do those living with HIV face, and can they ever truly overcome this disease? Today we unravel the answers, how lives can be saved, improved and protected.
The silent attacker, known as HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, spreads in ways many don't fully understand. Most commonly, it passes through unsafe sexual contact, but it can also be transmitted via infected blood, shared needles, or from mother to a child during childbirth or breastfeeding. Yet, despite widespread myths, HIV does not spread through casual contact like touching, hugging, or sharing meals. When HIV enters the body, its mission is stealthy but devastating. The virus targets the body's immune system, specifically the CD4 cells, also known as the helper T cells. These are the body's frontline defense against infections. Once inside, the virus inserts its genetic material into the CD4 cell's nucleus, effectively hijacking the cell to replicate itself. Over time, this viral army grows silently, often without causing immediate symptoms. Years can pass before the real damage begins. Gradually, HIV destroys the immune system, leaving the body vulnerable to opportunistic infections and diseases. This is the critical stage when HIV progresses to AIDS, or acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Without treatment, AIDS severely diminishes the body's ability to fight even minor illnesses, often leading to fatal outcomes. But this is not a hopeless fight. Antiretroviral therapy, ART. These life-saving medications suppress the virus, preventing it from replicating further and allowing the immune system to rebuild. ART, when taken consistently and correctly, can prevent the progression from HIV to AIDS. ART is not just a treatment, it is a lifeline. Across the country, ART centers provide free medication, ensuring that cost is never a barrier to survival. However, the battle against HIV isn't just about the treatment, it's also about awareness and prevention. Early detection is critical. Regular testing, safe sexual practices, and caution with blood exposure are key to preventing HIV infection. The message is clear. HIV infection is not the end of life. With timely medication intervention and consistent treatment, people can live long and fulfilling lives. But it all begins with awareness, compassion, and taking the right steps towards prevention and care. This World AIDS Day, let's pledge to fight stigma, spread awareness, and ensure that everyone's right to health is protected. Because together, we can turn the tide against AIDS. Preeti Kaur for DD India.
India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched Waves, entering the field of OTT platform. Waves provides a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audiences. If you also want great content for free, then download Waves today. That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news. India, I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.